Recording in progress.
WBZD.
Hey guys, welcome back to WBZD. I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Joyce.
I'm Natalie.
I'm Ronnie. I'm Ronnie. You can call me Shin.
And we are
GT14,
architecture students at the University of Hawaii studying abroad at Tongji University in Shanghai. Today we have two very special guests. We have Lance and Clark here with us today. Woo! We're going to be talking about the global track history and about the program a little bit. And I think these two people right here are perfect for talking about this topic today. So can you guys introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Clark Llewellyn. I'm a professor at EUHM, director of Global Track. I'm retiring this year, and Lance is going to be stepping in, doing all of this. And so I've been at Hawaii for almost 20 years. Before that, I was 25 years at Montana State University, where he was a student. I remember him coming as a freshman. And so things just keep coming around. And now all of you are okay, that's my life.
Yeah, Lance Walters. I'm an associate professor at UH. I've been there since 2011. When I came in, Clark was dean and had just, I think, signed the Global Track contract when I arrived. So been involved with the program kind of since then. But I think there was a lot of years before that Clark was working on things to put it together. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you could please explain how this whole program started.
Well, it goes back a number of years, and it actually goes back to when I was at Montana State. At the time, I was the director of Montana State University, and it's the most remote school of architecture in North America, and I thought it was very remote. Then I moved to Hawaii, and it's the most remote school of architecture in the world. But while there at Montana, it was really very much about its remoteness of the way, and then how do you get this identity and what do you connect to? So really the program was somewhat Eurocentric. Places have study, places you go to Europe and do so on. And I really looked at where we should be and considered that the students really were looking at more of Latin America and Asia as being developing, was likely that they'd be working or you'd be working in the future instead of going to Paris they're great places to visit. I love going there. But so we started developing study programs that were focusing on Latin America and then Asia, and moving away from kind of Eurocentric and more about our sense of place that we were in Montana, which is the American West. And so it's a different kind of place, more about landscape. Well, in Hawaii, it's also about landscape and oceans, and it's a different sort of place. And then I started thinking about how we can be developed and getting the students to be more engaged in how you can move from beyond this isolated place in North America. And Asia became more and more interesting. And I started connecting with one of our former students at Montana State, who was a graduate, and he'd gone to GSD, and then he was practicing in Korea. So I started connecting with him, got him to come teach at Montana, and I did my first sabbatical ever, and I went to Korea, and I spent a year in Seoul and doing some things, teaching at Yonsei University, and then one of the faculty at Montana State said, "Have you been to China?" And I said, "Well, no, let's go." So I went to China and started thinking more about how we can connect, because what happens is that you get exchange programs and you go visit and you come back and visit and come back, and there's no real connection or relationship that's truly established. So I started thinking about how maybe we could develop a graduate program where you can earn more than one degree. And so started really exploring that possibility while at Montana, and so it was looking at the time of, well, maybe we can do Korea and China and there. And I was on the AI National Board at the time, and so I was doing some traveling, and one of the regions that represented was from Montana, Idaho, Washington, Alaska, Oregon, Hawaii was one of the groups, as well as Guam, Japan, Hong Kong were part of our region. So I was doing some traveling. And Hawaii started looking for a dean, and they called me, I guess, to help develop the description of what do you think of Hawaii. And so I wasn't at all looking at leaving. And then I started talking about the dual degree program and connections to Asia. Pretty soon they said, well, why are you connecting to Asia from Montana when you can be in Hawaii? Plus, I think it was probably something like 30 below zero. And they said, Hawaii, 30 below zero, and really connecting. My interests were in Asia. And so I just told my wife, we get a free visit. Let's just go out and say, if I make the interview, it'll be we don't have to move there. And so we moved, obviously, but I went to Hawaii specifically to develop a program that's connected to China and Asia. That was my main interest. And then once you get to Hawaii, of course, you're halfway there. And it's much easier to connect. And then also when I arrived there, the previous dean, Ray, they'd established a relationship with Tonji. And so I sort of came in and Tonji was obviously you're here, right? And so it was a chance to come over, and the partner was there. They came with me from Korea to try and get 3 schools. The complexity of that was just way, way too much. It wasn't easy to develop. I mean, it was when you have a remote program, and how were you with accreditation, the doctorate, and all those things. But the doctorate really helped because they had multiple degree programs were being developed here at Tonji, but they're all master's degrees. Mm-hmm. And so the thing that made Hawaii more unique amongst all of the programs was the doctorate and accredited doctor. I mean, I was really, when I was in Montana, we developed the first 5-year master's program in the country. There were 3 schools that changed in, I think, 1997. So I was used to like new degree titles and trying to be, so that was, the doctorate really interested me. And I still think it's a degree that's really especially valuable if you know, and this program itself, I think really makes the doctorate really is separate from master's degree programs around the country because of being here at Tonji, and the 3 years is not just a redundant here, it's really part of it. And then Lance has been involved since the beginning, and so in fact you were one of the very first faculty to come over here.
Yeah, I came over with GT2 for the year. That was my second year of teaching in Hawaii. It was actually teaching here. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was great. And did they know about the book?
Yeah, they were all part of the
okay.
You can talk about it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now, they were asking about it so much today. Yeah, I didn't know if it was for sale in the bookstore yet or not. It has kind of a good history of the program.
Well, Lance found the apartment because there's always a place. Getting here and staying here was always an issue. And as all of you found, like, what do you do with housing and finding a place? I still don't. I mean, unlike Ben, who's, has the languages down. I didn't even speak English hardly. So I went into architecture so I wouldn't have to remember anything. This is really about making up answers. I told you that the only Chinese language, the first one I know. I started getting these back that tape you could listen to and they were free or something. They were trying to learn. And I still remember the first words is that whoever had a British accent, and so and they said, "Oh, you have a mate, and you're with Joe, and Joe orders a beer, and then after a number of beers, he has to go. Joe has to go pee, so it's pee Joe." Pee Joe is beer, and so that was my first word that I understood. And it was, and that's a limit of still. I know how to say cold. Yeah. Biniquillo. So I really would depend on Ben to kind of help me. Well, I can order a beer on my own. Anything more complex, I need help.
Lance, how's your Chinese?
So it's terrible. Yeah, I can get a taxi to move around and
Nice.
yeah, have some basic numbers and things. So when I first came over, I did take some Chinese here, and then Clark was bringing me over to Vietnam. We were exploring some programs over there with them, and I took some Vietnamese that summer. They have 7 tones, and it just destroyed all of the Mandarin that I had learned. And so yeah, and I'm bad enough with tones, so it's not great, but it comes back a little bit better once I'm here.
I mean, I'm just so glad that Google Translate exists. But I enjoy I kind of know what people are talking about, because they're so expressive and what they're saying, and so I just nod. I can tell when somebody's upset, or they're really making a joke, or whether they're doing I don't mind sitting at a table when they're all speaking Mandarin. And it's like, I always shake my head like I understand, and I could sort of understand, but I don't know a word because it's so expressive and similar with the way it isn't a non-expressive language.
Yeah, I feel like Ronnie and we kind of understand certain things, but as a lot of it is just context clues, and so that's kind of how we get by, unlike them who are fluent.
Right.
Today I had to go pick up a print for our studio class, and I decided I was not using Translate at all, and I was just going to do it. And of course, I don't speak any Chinese at all, and so he just pointed at it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm doing it. It's online, whatever." And then he pointed at the cash register. I was like, "Yeah." It's just context clues are king.
But I find everybody is so helpful here. I mean, just yesterday I was in Muji or something buying something, and they said use the machine, and everything was in Chinese. And some guy comes up, and he didn't speak any English, but he helped me just immediately doing what's there. And so it's unlike some places where they don't help. I find that here they're very helpful, and they can tell when you're sort of on my phone looking at things, and it's always there's a lot of help being offered here.
I think it's safe to say that you guys enjoy China because you guys are part of this program and you probably traveled here numerous times. I've seen Clark's passport filled with a bunch of stamps in and out of China. So what is your guys' favorite part about being in China?
Oh, that's a hard question. There's so much going on. I'm here with the freshman undergrad students. We're here for the construction festival, and the festival's a lot of fun, but I end up taking them kind of on the same tours every year, and I still enjoy it. Taking them all for the first time to the Bund, and the lights come on at night. Taking them out for food at some restaurant we found, and so I just like being kind of here. As much as it's a Chinese city, it's also a really international city, and it's fun to just be in a really dense, happening urban environment.
Yeah, I like taking photographs. I mean, and so I tend to like the back streets and going into the kind of messiness, the complexity that's here, and the sort of the contradictions between the contemporary, and there's carts and bikes. I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, I've never been hit. Well, other than rolling over my toes, there'll be a scooter might roll over your toes, but some of these scooters come bash you with carts carrying, and they come by you, and I, my God, I'm lucky I didn't. I mean, they're amazing the way they can go through and navigate, but that kind of movement, the city is very, it's not static at all. I mean, it's such a dynamic place, and that's what I like so much about being here, is that my last passport, I got to get a new one, and my last one had 50 entries to China. But when I was here before, like with Lance, I mean, I would use the long weekend. On Thursday, I would fly down to like Angkor Wat in Cambodia, come back on the weekend. You do the same to go to Taiwan, or I go to Bangkok or to Xi'an or other places here. And I made it a point to take advantages of the location because it's so relative. As we know in Hawaii, to go somewhere in, if you don't fly 5 hours, you're in trouble. It's like 5 hours plus. You hope. If you fly 3 hours, you're real. I don't know. You're not. It's not a good flight.
Get your life preserver on.
Yeah. So here in a couple of 3 hours, you can get so many places and do things and then I come back late on Sunday night to get back in like at midnight or something like that. But there's so much to see even locally.
On the podcast, we've talked about how, like, even if you don't internationally travel as much here, like just going to other parts of China, it's so diverse just within the country itself, and it's really amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, it seems international just without leaving. Yeah, he said it's yeah. Well, last night we're talking about a friend of mine. I got to know he owned an Italian restaurant. So he's a British person that owns he was married to his wife and is Chinese and I got to know him, and so he has a wholesale wine thing, but he's moved to Thailand, but he's come back, and so he always reach out to me. Are you going to be in Shanghai? I'm there this weekend, and we get together, and he has other people that are part of this like wine club, and we go to restaurants, and so you meet all kinds of people that are just that I wouldn't normally meet. Now Lance was always had the apartment for a while here, and he always had costumes in his.
Well, it was a shared apartment, right? So sometimes I would be gone and Clark would come over, use it, or some of the other faculty. And I like to go out for Halloween.
Nice.
And I had lots of friends that I kept all of their Halloween costumes. And Clark was always like, what happens in this
I go into the closet and I go, what are the costumes that you have there?
That could be a podcast episode itself.
We did make it on the front page of the newspaper one Halloween.
Oh wow,
Yeah, with a bunch of UH students. Yeah.
that's super cool. Before they started cracking down on Halloween, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I read that they don't have.
More policemen than the Cossacks
No,
each time.
Because we went out on Halloween. We just walked around and saw people dressing up. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
it was a fun. Yeah.
Not quite as crazy as Waikiki for sure, but
Yeah.
So, but they used to, when I was here, until I went down and I stayed on the Bund on New Year's Eve, because I traveled and I had all these hotel points for a room, but I was going to lose them on the end of the year. So I just went down and I got a room down on Nanjing Road, and it happened to be, I think, 2014. And I photographed all these thousands of people heading toward the river. And, that was a pretty, and there were many people died that night because of the crowd all came in and went to him. And I was just looking at it the other day, it came back, you remember when and it showed me, I had a video of just all the people heading down there. And I was trying to get to, it was a blues club along there, and you couldn't even navigate along, but I had to walk in the back streets just to try and navigate amongst all the people. But back then they had fireworks instead of LED lighting, and so it was like, things of, and the air quality was pretty bad back then too. I mean, there were probably moments still, but then it was pretty difficult.
I imagine you guys have seen a lot of changes since GT first started. Like even since we've been here, I feel like quite a lot of changes, and even with the economy slowing down, it's still rapidly changing. So imagine you guys have seen like Shanghai completely change over the years.
Yeah, I remember when they got I don't remember the year, but I remember when they got rid of the gas-powered scooters. It was like overnight. one night, it was noisy out on the street, and then you woke up the next day, and it was just everything was just whirring by you. And yeah, they make changes fast here.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, that's probably the thing that's probably most amazing, how fast things can change. But it's a different attitude of, I mean, they kind of just put it out there and it develops. And well, at least in the States, they tend to, it's got to be tested and all these things, and it's years. So it takes years to develop something. Well, here, let's try it. And things are just occurring so quickly. And so the advancement that takes place here is much faster than what we see. And change could be, plus the way things are improved. It's just a different kind of process. So development that takes place here. Yeah. Much more. It seems more controlled. It has a lot of risk. And they're willing to take risks because I think to see the advancement.
Yeah.
Opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of staying here for 1 year because you can actually see that change. Like one of the easiest examples is our line that takes us to our apartment, line 18. We used to be the last stop for line 18, but then they extended it, I think in December or something. But it was almost overnight where they added the signs and said, you can actually go farther out into the more suburb areas. So that was pretty cool to see. Yeah.
We all kind of joked that the next day on the way back from class, we almost missed our stop because usually it's just the last stop and it's not going to be off for us. So you have to actually pay attention now where you're going. But yeah, I think it literally was overnight. Cause I remember leaving campus late and they were changing all the vinyl signage on the top. And then the next day it was just, the train already has people on it as it's coming in the station. It was no fanfare. It's just new stations, new trains. It was so cool.
What surprised you most about coming here? I mean, what did you expect versus what are you surprised at that's maybe different than what you expected?
The game I play with my students over here is 2 highs and a low.
We don't have to talk about the low.
But every day I ask them 2 highlights and 1 low.
I think one thing we talked about in previous podcasts is how cheap and how fast things are here. That was very shocking to us. Everything kind of just happens immediately, and it's nice in certain aspects, but also sometimes it can get overwhelming. And also we talked about how different it is compared to other Asia countries, and just trying to compare China versus Korea and Japan. It's totally different in terms of culture and how people act. So it's very interesting to come here and see that.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest shocks for me, having been to Japan and being more familiar with Japanese culture and things like that. And then coming here, and I was kind of expecting more of that, in my mind, kind of I don't know what you call it, group mentality and you do everything for the community and things like that. Where I was very surprised in China that it's much more American-ish, where it's just everybody kind of does their own thing and you're much more individualistic, which I was not expecting at all. Just from, I guess, maybe some of the stereotypes and stuff that I'd heard over the years. But I think another thing that's been really nice is just how safe it is here. I can just go running I went running last night because I was staying up late to work on homework. It's I need to wake up. And so I went for a run and it was 2 o'clock in the morning and it's you don't even have to think about it. You're just oh yeah, let's go for a run. Whereas growing up in kind of a rougher city when I was younger, we'd never go outside at night and do stuff like that, or you always have to be aware of what's around you and stuff like that. Whereas here, it's just, it's just really safe.
I think one of the other thing about it is public transportation. It's how convenient it is, especially the metro. Because back in Hawaii, it's just buses and it's very slow and more car related. But over here, it's public transportation is really good.
I think another thing too that I was shocked at is how heavy technology is here.
Yeah.
I could just walk out with just my phone and I'll be okay. I can pay for everything. I can order stuff on my phone, and that's really all you need to go get around.
It's all it's required.
Yeah, that's required.
You have your phone. I mean, money is worthless.
But it's so interesting how we adapted to it so quickly because when we went to travel other places and we had to rely more on like cash and things like that, it was like, oh shoot. Like, how do I do this again? Like, I only know, I only know how to do WeChat Pay.
We never use cash in China for many, many years. And for Chinese people coming to Hawaii, the biggest land, the first culture shock is, of course, the price. It's expensive in Hawaii. Everything is expensive. And I even interviewed some Uber drivers, and they all complain about the living costs in Hawaii. And even all the people, they have at least 2 or 3 jobs to do. And some of them, after work, they need to be a delivery man or the Uber driver or do anything just to make living. So it's not easy to make living in Hawaii, especially you are the foreign people. But I think in Shanghai, due to the low living cost, I think you can get more easily for people living here. And when I eat dinners and lunch with my friends, as I said many times, if you are in Hawaii, you can never get this with the same price. So we guess I say, if you are foreigner friends and coming to Shanghai, will be a very good experience to say the different things at different price, and you can have I think you can have a higher quality of life here.
But the quality of life, it varies. I mean, it's hard to, when it's cold out and the building's cold and or it's hot and humid. I mean, I think the heat here when it's hot, it's really hot and humid, and why we complain. But
we need to pay for
I I now complain when it's that now it gets down to I came from, he's from Alaska, and so I was in Montana, and now we're in Hawaii. I mean, but we're talking, you still have a bit of your Alaska temperature. Me, I'm getting cold as see, it's a little chilly here. It's not.
Well, I think the seasons here, I mean, I miss the seasons in Hawaii, so that's another thing that I've always appreciated here. It's really beautiful in the spring and the fall.
Well, also what I like here is the way you go to the small markets and you can buy the fresh fruits and vegetables, and I really enjoy that. And it's amazing. I was here and pre-COVID, and we lived in this neighborhood that Lance found an apartment, one with the costumes in it, and there's this little store called the Avocado Lady was there, and I'd been gone for 4 years. Went in there and she says, "Oh, remembered me and doing things." And the one time I forgot something, and I couldn't get my phone to work. And she said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like next time you come." It's really amazing how after all these years, and this is the biggest city, that there's still the neighborhoods and the places that become really kind of. I know you've spoken about that before, about the places that are people that when you're where you live and so on. It's a neighborhood that exists in such a large city, 25 million people. But then they know we come in and say, "Oh, you need to buy these cherries now." Of course, I don't need them, but I'll buy them.
It has been nice to talk about the fresh fruit and vegetables, because there's a lot of Southeast Asian tropical fruits that I can't get in the US that I miss from living in Southeast Asia, and it's the season right now. And so I went to the fruit market and bought 2 kilos of different fruits and things like that, and it was super, super cheap, and so it's really nice.
Yeah, I like Szechuan peppers, and you can't buy fresh Szechuan peppers in the United States. It's just they're not allowed, so you can only get dried ones. And here, the Szechuan pepper, I mean, they're it's the numbing peppers on everything, but they're so good. And so when we had a kitchen in the place, I'd always get the peppers, and because and fruit was great.
Well, going back to talking about the program, I'm just curious how you guys saw the program evolved over the years.
Oh, that's a tricky one. I mean, COVID was a big kind of hole in the middle.
And I feel like the evolution of the program pre-COVID and post-COVID is radically different. But in some ways, I remember, Clark doing a lot with Zoom before anyone really talked about it, especially in kind of an academic setting. And then, of course, after COVID or during COVID, everyone started getting online, and Clark kept saying, "Oh yeah, well, I've been using that for years."
Yeah, it was as high techness as we're being also.
Because it was strange because we were here with students in January when COVID hit, and China was, of course, there, and the rest of the world just knew it was coming. But anyway, it was here, and so the traveling was a concern. And I left here on January, like around 17th, when in 2020, and that's when they were closing down everything. And typically from then, if you arrived from here, had to be quarantined to come in. And so the students couldn't come back here, so we were teaching on Zoom already. And then UH started to close down in about April, really like March or April.
Close to March.
Yeah, March. And so here I am, the oldest one. I had told the faculty how to use Zoom. Yeah, let me show you the digital things I can tell you.
That's awesome.
COVID aside, I think the growth of the program, a lot of it has come from more awareness. So more diversity of students that have gotten involved, but also the supporters of the program. The advisory board has grown a lot, and just learning at UH, wanting to work with Tongji and vice versa has really just, that's really what's, I think, continued to develop the program.
Yeah, that's probably the thing with Lance saying. That's the thing I've noticed. When we first came here, Hawaii, nobody knew the program. And now, in the dark, it's been here, we're one of the, over 15 years of being here every year. And we've stayed committed to the program, and they've committed to us. So that's, I think, during the COVID time, there's a lot of partners, a lot of relationship with China have been abandoned, and especially now with the difficulties that exist. The thing that was back in 2007, 8, 9, China was developing, and international practice was growing, and architects were coming over, and you're doing development, and American architects and exchanges were all taking place, and globalism was a thing that was really being promoted, and partnering with East and West and so on. And the challenge that we have always today is that I don't mind saying, we moved into a bit more of an isolationist and not really global partnering like I would like to see. And so I think like many would like to see. And so that has become a challenge. But this program has, like within our university, still maintains the ability to stay connected with China. Other things have been denied that because of like new agreements and challenges of technology. But I think the things that we're doing about housing, sustainability, rising sea level, these aren't, it shouldn't be secrets. It shouldn't be they're things that we all care about. And so a global program is really essential, I think, to deal with they have housing issues and architecture levels. All this is things that we share. There's nothing that makes it uniquely U.S. or uniquely China or uniquely Asia or European. We all suffer. At least I believe that. Some people don't believe it that way, but that's why this program exists.
And we've talked in the podcast, I think, quite a bit more about how unique that like collaboration between UH and Tongji is. It's like there's a lot of international students here, but they kind of just come on their own. Like they just apply, or they're like, oh, I'll do like a semester or two there. Whereas ours, it's like an integrated part of the program, which is like there's no other ones like that here at Tongji. And so it's really, really cool. So I'm like, I'm just really grateful you guys set that up and it keeps going. It's like you're saying, like as things become maybe more divisive or whatever, like having that connection is really, really cool. It's like I don't think I've met any other American students here. Like there's a lot of students from other Western countries and things like that, but we're the only Americans that I know of that are here. And so it's kind of cool having that unique, like Hawaii is kind of that like middle ground that seems to be working quite well.
Last week I had to rebuy it at the construction festival. There's 4 international teams. We were one. They call us Hawaii, not USA. And I think it was the group from Spain where they were asking about visas. And you said, oh, you have to get a visa from Hawaii? And it's USA. And he's like, oh, right.
Yeah. Here we talk about that a lot with our European friends. I'm like, oh, we just have family come visit for 2 months. We're like, oh yeah, we can't do that in the US.
Yeah, it is good being from Hawaii. I mean, when people ask where you're from, I always say Hawaii. It's just because it really is, I mean, it's really not part of the continent. And so, and, you know, even if you go to order a Big Mac, it costs, you know, Alaska and Hawaii are somehow always eliminated from this. We're kind of divorced anyway, and he's from Alaska and Hawaii. And so you do develop a different kind of view versus the 48 contiguous states.
We mentioned earlier, I was wondering if you guys could introduce that book that you talked about, because I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast yet. Introduce what the book is.
Good thing about it.
Yeah.
Clark can tell us he's been working on it for about a year. Well, Vanessa, I mean, it's been, yeah, I mean, it's because it's been 15 years. And actually, Tongji brought up about a year or two ago, because we're coming up to these 15 years and how we want to document it, because it is a unique program. As you said, you find other programs. Tongji recognizes it's unique as well. And they have talked to us. They talked to, like today we had lunch, all 3 of us were there and talking about this coming fall and how to coordinate the coursework and so on. And they had been consistent for 15 years as well. You know, one Euro, he was the associate dean or assistant dean when the program was developed, and he was in charge of developing the international programs. So we got to know each other then, and then he moved in and he became head of undergraduate education here at Tongji. It moved out, but this is the only program he's remained in contact with of all the ones he's developed. And maybe because he comes to Hawaii every year and you'll do your master's defense, and he'll likely be there. But the book is really about the students and the process. You know, it's because the graduates we have, it's a cohort, and it's one of the few programs I know of where you remain a cohort for 3 years. I mean, there's no dropping out. There's no, I'm going to take a semester off. There's no taking, I'm not going to take this class this time. I mean, you're going to take this class and you're going to stay with this group. You drop out, you're dropping out. But that cohort becomes, when there's 15 of them, and you all get to join that cohort on WeChat, right? You know, and it's always like, oh yeah, GT 1, 2, 3. And I always say, and so we're all working now is a GT1, and there's a GT11.
11.
Yeah, there's GT1s. Not that you know their names anymore. All you know is like a code. Because the faculty all wrote their what they were about from both Anna's administration, and the students submitted what they're doing now. And actually that's what kind of surprised me initially when we started the program. I was you're always thinking about the power of design and what that's about, and the power of, and schools kind of get reputations for, oh, your theory, your designers, you deal with sustainability, or you deal with whatever the things that are important about a program. And being an architect, and we say, oh, I hope we really. And then Tongji's saying that this is about leadership, a leadership program. Well, a leadership program. What's a leadership program? And it ends up being this that the students are. I mean, you look at the students that have graduated from here, they have moved into leadership. And it's not always about design abilities and thinking all this stuff, or about technology or systems. And I think transfer equipment, that goes into what I think that AI does a lot of things. I don't think it's ever going to get into a leadership position. Why they do lots of things, those are not because of rationality necessarily, but they're because of inspiration and leadership and getting you to, and I think this program is about developing those kinds of people that are willing to kind of help guide others. And you don't always have to be a designer or be the one that does these ideas, but you're the one that has to be able to communicate that and get everybody to believe in whatever it is you believe in. And that quality of belief is really important in any field you go into. But I think in ours, it's especially important where you're talking about the environment and how people live, societies, and so on.
I think we might be running out of time, but we have one last question for you guys. What do you guys hope for the future of this program?
Well, if I'm looking at the two of them, I feel
That probably it was probably a whole other podcast. But I could say that I hope that we can continue to do justice to the name of the program. It's a global track, not China track, not Hawaii track. So we can continue to think about expanding into other areas, think about recruiting. I'm also thinking a lot about engaging some of the past cohorts that I've been meeting and even teaching with recently back in Hawaii, and seeing how I can maybe continue to engage with you guys and explore the program. So, yeah.
That sounds super exciting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. Clark, we want to thank you for everything you've done for this program and for us and helping create this whole program for us. And it's really fun. And I hope you enjoy retirement.
Well, like Lan says, it says that they had the reviews of your construction thing the other day, right? The Trust Investment said, "Oh, it's really good. They have a jury," and they said, "But they might be on the jury next year." And Lan says, "You would like it. They don't let you talk." Oh,
He said he'd figure out a way.
Well, we hope to see you around school still and maybe possibly come review our studio work and things like that. So we hope to keep in touch. Yeah. And Lance, we're excited for you to take over the program and we can't wait to see what you do.
And then next year, so then that's look forward to.
Thank you.
If you wish to continue to follow our journey, please follow us on Instagram at global_track_architecture. And if you have any specific topics or questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments or email us at globaltrackarchitecture@gmail.com. And thank you again for joining us today. We hope to see you again soon. Shoots!